was this weird feeling, like something I really haven't felt before. Mike thinks it could mean that maybe Vecna's close, that he's finally reemerged. And if he has, maybe we'll find him tonight.
Will Byers is the real final boss of Stranger Things 5. Not because he turns evil, but because the ending runs straight through him. And the wild part is, the show has been warning us about this since season 1. Everyone is busy arguing who dies, what twist is next, and how Vecna wins. But nobody is asking the one question that actually matters. Why does Vecna keep circling back to Will? And why does one tiny detail from the trailer change the entire game? Here's the trap the fandom fell into. We keep treating Vecna like he is the final source of evil, like he is the original monster, like if 11 beats him, the story ends. But Stranger Things doesn't work like that. Stranger Things is a D&D campaign. And in D&D, the final boss isn't always the loudest villain in the room. Sometimes the final boss is the mechanic, the door, the cursed object, the person who becomes the bridge, and that's Will. Because once you stop looking at Stranger Things like good guys versus Vecna, and you start looking at it like the party versus the system, the ending becomes terrifyingly clear. Vecna is not the system. Vecna is a piece of it. To understand that, you have to stop thinking the Upside Down is the origin. We've been saying the Upside Down like it's the source of everything. But what if it's not the source? What if it's the fuse, the bridge, the overlap between worlds? Because if there's a deeper realm underneath it, a place that existed first, then the Upside Down stops being the villain's home base and becomes something way worse. A passage, a connection point, a mechanism designed to spread. Therefore, the final battle isn't just a fight, it's a shutdown. And now we get to the part people keep skipping. Henry Creel. Most fans think Henry was born evil, like he was always destined to become Vecna. But if Henry wasn't born evil, and he wasn't the original mastermind, that changes everything. Because the version of Henry we meet later is not just a bad kid with powers. He acts like someone who absorbed a new ideology, a new worldview, a new set of rules, control, order, reshaping nature, turning people into pieces on a board. That doesn't feel like a normal human evolution. That feels like a host. And the proof is hiding in one place. The cave. The theory goes like this. Henry's first real change begins after a cave incident tied to early experiments, an accident, an exposure to something older than the Upside Down. Something from the deeper realm. He comes back different, not just stronger, different. Blood and biology no longer normal. Personality shifts, obsession becomes the point. But here's the scariest part. Henry doesn't invent the Mind Flayer shape. He sees it first, and later he copies it. So if Henry is copying something he already saw, that means the Mind Flayer isn't his creation, it's his influence. That means Vecna isn't the top of the pyramid, he's a tool. And the body gives us a tell that's easy to miss. There's a line that basically says he likes it cold. That sounds small, but it's not. It's a biological fingerprint. Like the thing inside him is aligned with an environment that rejects heat. Therefore, it's not just Henry likes the cold. It's the infection speaking. And once you understand that, you realize the Mind Flayer doesn't just control bodies. It spreads a mindset. It spreads a pattern, which brings us back to Will. Because Will has been carrying the pattern since season 1. Now here's where most people still get it wrong. They assume Vecna chose Will because Will was weak. Because Will broke easily. But that explanation doesn't hold up. Because if Will was just a random victim, why does he stay central to the plan for 5 seasons? Why does the story keep bringing us back to his connection, like it's a ticking bomb? The better answer is darker. Will wasn't the easiest target. Will was the intended target. Will was chosen first because he was compatible. Because he could become something. And the parallels between Will and Henry aren't just cute writing, they're clues. Henry is described as a sensitive child. Will is described as a sensitive kid. Henry talks like someone who feels different from everyone. Will carries the same emotional wiring. Even the phrasing of, "I just want it to be over," hits like a mirror. The point is not that Will and Henry are the same person, but they are the same type of conduit. Same type of receiver, same type of vessel. Therefore, Will isn't just connected. Will is the perfect endpoint. And the cave proves it in the creepiest way possible. Because there's a moment where Max escapes, falls into the cave tied to Henry's first exposure, and suddenly Vecna stops. He doesn't chase. He shows fear. That matters because fear is human. Fear is not the move of a final boss who thinks he's in total control. It's the move of someone who remembers what happened to him. It proves there's still a crack in the system. It proves Vecna is not fully in charge. But if Vecna isn't fully in charge, who is? Now the D&D proof finally lands. Stranger Things has always told you how to read it. The party, the classes, the monsters, the levels. Even the way they name threats is literally D&D logic. So ask yourself this. In a D&D campaign, what is Vecna? Vecna is a boss? Sure, but he's also a high-level servant of something bigger. A conduit, a cleric-style vessel. Power granted by a higher being. But Will is different. Will isn't just borrowing power. Will is becoming the amplifier, the antenna, the network endpoint. That's the twist most people miss. 11 is your damage dealer. She hits hard. She breaks walls. She forces doors open. But Will is the door. Will is the map. Will is the mechanic the final fight is built around. Therefore, the final boss isn't a person you punch. It's a bridge you have to shut down. And Will becomes the living bridge. And once that idea clicks, everything in the trailer becomes terrifying. Because the Upside Down isn't just a spooky dimension. It's a passageway formed by collision. A liminal space created when two realms overlap. A bridge that can be widened, stabilized, weaponized. And that's why kidnapped children and psychic anchors matter in this story. Because it's not a gate opens. It's a system is being expanded. It's the bridge becoming permanent. Then you get the visual payoff that makes this whole theory feel inevitable. A massive shadow creature emerges, resembling the three-headed dragon from Will's painting. And that's the point. Will has been drawing the final boss before the party even understood the campaign. Not because Will is evil, but because Will is connected deeply enough to see what's coming. So now the stakes are clear. Vecna is not the ending. Will is. Because Will was marked in Season 1 in a way no one else was. He isn't just the guy who can sense Vecna. He is a living bridge between the real world and the deeper realm. And if Vecna's plan is to merge worlds, he needs one thing. A stable human gateway. A vessel that can hold the connection without collapsing. That's Will. That's why the finale isn't 11 versus Vecna. It's the party versus the bridge. And here's the part that hurts. You can't win by killing Will. If Will is the final boss mechanic, the win condition becomes saving him without letting the bridge complete. That's what makes this ending brutal. Not a final punch, a final choice. The party has to sever the network, collapse the connection, and free Will from the hive mind, even if it costs them everything. So my theory is simple. Vecna is the face of the threat, but the Mind Flayer is the system, and Will is the endpoint. That's why Will is the real final boss of Stranger Things 5. Because the last battle doesn't happen in a battlefield. It happens inside the bridge, inside Will. Now I want to know what you think. If you had to assign Will a D&D class for the finale, what is he? Sorcerer, Warlock, Cleric, or something darker? If you're still watching, comment Will final boss.
The needle's naturally drawn to the Earth's magnetic North Pole.
So, what's wrong with him?
Well, that's what I couldn't figure out, but then I remembered. You can change the direction of a compass with a magnet. If there's the presence of a more powerful magnetic field, the needle deflects to that power. And then I remembered what Mr. Clark said. The gate would have so much power.
Disrupt the electromagnetic field.
Exactly.
Meaning, if we follow the compasses north?
They should lead us to the gate.
We are all supposed to see Dustin as the brain of the party. The kid with the rules, the references, the science, the walkie-talkies. He is the one who figures out the pattern, names the monster, and then explains to everyone what they are up against using D&D, Demogorgon, Mind Flayer, Vecna. We all cheer when he makes those connections because it makes the story feel clever.
In the presence of a stronger electromagnetic field, the needle will deflect towards that power. So either there's some super big magnet around here, or there's a gate.
But we're nowhere near the lab.
But what if, somehow, there's another gate? A gate that we don't know about. It has to be smaller, way less powerful.
Snack-sized cake.
How? Why? No idea.
The show is using D&D as a fun reference, right? But if you look at how naming and dungeon masters work in D&D, and you look at how the Upside Down keeps matching his words, a darker idea starts to appear. I do not think Dustin is just describing the monsters. I think he is helping create them. In D&D, the dungeon master is the one who decides what exists. Players roll dice and make choices, but the DM names the monsters, draws the map, and sets the rules. If the DM says a Demogorgon steps out of the shadows, that is what happens. The name gives the creature form, stats, and threat level. In a lot of fantasy, names are power. A true name can bind a demon. A title can shape a destiny. The moment something is named, it becomes more real. Now watch Dustin. In Season 1, the kids are terrified by a tall, faceless creature with a flower mouth. It is just the monster at first. Then they sit at the table, look at the board, and Dustin says the word, Demogorgon.
No! That didn't come from troglodytes, no, that came from something else. The Demogorgon!
From that moment on, that is how we understand it. The creature is no longer a random horror. It is a Demogorgon, a specific D&D nightmare with 2 heads and a certain kind of presence. The Upside Down, whatever it really is, suddenly has a clear template to lean into. In Season 2, Will draws a storm, a shadow. Dustin looks at it, thinks of a classic D&D villain, and gives it a name, the Mind Flayer.
The Mind Flayer.
The hell is that?
It's a monster from an unknown dimension. It's so ancient that it doesn't even know its true home. It's me. It's your friend. It's Dustin. It's Dustin, right? You remember me? Sorry, will you let us pass?
The show could have picked any monster. It could have left it vague. Instead, the kids start treating it like a hive mind strategist who takes over bodies and wants to spread across the world, exactly like the D&D version. In Season 4, they see the new killer, the one who breaks bones and invades minds. Dustin flips through his mental monster manual and lands on another name, Vecna.
Wait, what?
There's one thing we've never understood, which is why Vecna's killing people. So what if, with each kill, he's not simply killing them? He's making a powerful psychic connection with his victims, a connection powerful enough to rip a hole in the fabric of time and space.
Suddenly, the rules of the story shift again. Now this is not just a ghost or demon. This is the Lich, the big boss, the level 20 problem, the one with a history in D&D, with artifacts and betrayals and legendary status. Every time Dustin names a threat, the Upside Down seems to grow into that costume. So here is the theory. What if the entity behind all of this is more formless than we think? Not a Demogorgon, not a Mind Flayer, not Vecna, but something stranger, something that reacts to expectation. It pushes into their world as raw horror, and then listens. It listens to the boys at the table. Dustin, the smartest kid in the room, sees something he cannot explain and reaches for the closest D&D parallel. He wraps the unknown in a name. In doing so, he gives the unknown a shape to copy. The Demogorgon becomes a hunter that stalks through portals because that is how they think a Demogorgon behaves. The Mind Flayer becomes a psychic hive mind that spreads through heat and fear because that is what the name suggests. Vecna becomes a disfigured lich with a tragic backstory and a plan because that is how the kids picture him. Dustin is the accidental DM of Hawkins, and the enemy is using his imagination as a blueprint. This does not mean Dustin is evil. It makes him painfully human. Faced with chaos, he reaches for the language he knows to make it make sense. That is what all of us do. But in a world where thought and fear have weight, naming things might be more than just comfort. It might be spellcasting. Here is where it gets really interesting. In a D&D game, the DM can always decide to homebrew, to stop using the monster manual and make up something new. The moment they do that, the players no longer have a guide. They cannot assume anything. They have to treat the creature as truly unknown. Stranger Things has never done that. Every big bad has gotten a D&D label. So in Stranger Things 5, the level 20 twist could be simple. They stop naming things. The final form of the enemy appears. It might be a fusion of Mind Flayer, Vecna, and whatever else is behind the scenes. Old Dustin would scramble for the right term. He would flip through creatures in his head and pin a title to it. This time, he refuses. He realizes that every name he has thrown at the darkness has helped it organize itself, helped it solidify into a story it knows how to win. He tells the others not to compare it to anything, not to call it by any D&D name at all. They fight it as what it is, not as a monster out of the book. That breaks the pattern. It denies the Upside Down the comfort of a script. There is no stat block to lean on, no classic weakness to turn against them, no classic strength to exploit. It is just raw horror against raw human courage. For Dustin, that is a huge character shift. His whole identity has been wrapped up in being the guy who knows what page the answers are on. In the finale, his big hero move might be admitting that sometimes the smartest thing you can say is, "I do not know what this is." So I do not think Dustin just names the monsters. I think in a very real way, he has been helping to write them into existence. And the only way to win the final fight is for him to break his own pattern and leave the last monster unnamed. Whether you think the entity behind the Upside Down is formless or something very specific, tell me in the comments if you like the idea of Dustin as the accidental DM. And if you are still watching, drop no name down below, so I know you are part of the party.
You don't like it?
No.
What's wrong?
I wish I was still with you.
I know. Me too. But I'll see you tomorrow, all right? First thing.
Tomorrow.
Curfew.
Good luck.
What if Stranger Things has been lying to us about who really powers 11? We are all supposed to believe the same thing. 11 is the battery. 11 is the nuke. She reaches inside herself, finds more strength, and saves the world. Mike is just the boyfriend, the heart, the guy who gives the speech and stands back while she does the real work. But the more you look at when her powers actually spike, and the more you compare that to how D&D treats clerics, the more it feels like we have missed something huge. I do not think Mike Wheeler is just the emotional support character.
It can't be good for her to be in there for this long.
Mike, you need to relax.
What if she gets brain damage or something? You're treating her like some kind of machine when she's not a machine, and I don't want her to die looking for the Flayed when they've obviously vanished off the face of the earth. So can we please just come up with a new plan, because I love her and I can't lose her again.
What's going on?
Nothing.
I think he is Vecna's secret cleric. In D&D, a cleric is not a wizard. They do not study spellbooks or channel their own raw talent. A cleric's power comes from faith. They make a connection to a higher being, a god, or a dark power, and their spells are granted through that devotion. The more they believe, the more they can do. Their real spell slot is trust. Now go back to Stranger Things and track 11's biggest moments. In season 1, she flips the van when the boys trust her completely and refuse to abandon her. In season 2, she closes the gate after reconnecting with Hopper and seeing that she belongs. In season 3 and 4, her most dramatic surges happen when Mike finally says the quiet part out loud and tells her he loves her, that he needs her, that she is the one. Her power does not just respond to anger, it responds to belief, especially his. Watch the piggyback scene in season 4. 11 is pinned in the mindscape, losing the fight to Vecna. Max is seconds from death. Nothing is working. Then Mike, in the pizza shop, breaks down and finally tells her the full truth. That he has been afraid of losing her. That he has always needed her. That he loves her, not because she is strong, but because she is her.
Elle, I don't know if you can hear this, but if you can, I want you to know I'm here, okay? I'm right here. But the truth is, Elle, I don't know how to live without you. I feel like my life started that day we found you in the woods. You were wearing that yellow Benny's Burgers t-shirt, and it was so big it almost swallowed you whole. And I knew right then and there, in that moment, that I loved you. And I've loved you every day since. I love you on your good days. I love you on your bad days. I love you with your powers. I love you without your powers. I love you for exactly who you are. You're my superhero. And I can't lose you. Okay? Do you hear me? I can't lose you.
And only then does her power reconnect. In D&D language, that is a cleric channeling divinity. The worshipper focuses their heart on the source, and the source responds. Mike's words are not just sweet, they are a spell focus. So here is the twist. What if that circuit is not safe? What if that emotional line Mike keeps pouring energy down does not go only to 11, but also to the thing that gave her power in the first place? We know her abilities are not natural. Brenner did not grow them, he unlocked them. He tapped into some other plane, some other force, and used children as antennas. 11 is not a standalone generator. She is a channel. If that is true, then every time Mike begs her to be stronger, every time he pushes her to go further, he might be pumping faith into the entire network that Vecna sits on. In D&D, it is dangerous to be a cleric of something you do not understand. The more you pray, the more power your god gets. Even if you are using that power to fight, it still feeds the one on the other end. Mike thinks his devotion belongs only to 11, but the pipeline goes deeper. His belief in her power, his insistence that she is the one who can fix everything, that everything rests on her shoulders, all of that reinforces the same idea Vecna wants to spread. That power is the only answer. That the psychic cord between their world and the Upside Down must stay plugged in, no matter the cost. So here is the theory. Mike Wheeler has been acting like a cleric for 4 seasons without knowing it. His faith does not just keep 11 going, it keeps the system going. It keeps the idea alive that her connection to the Upside Down is necessary, even sacred. And in Stranger Things 5, that has to break. The level 20 problem is simple. You cannot beat Vecna just by pushing more power through the same cord he uses. As long as that connection exists, as long as there is a human cleric feeding belief into psychic power, he has something to manipulate. So Mike's final arc is not about finding a bigger speech. It is about changing what he believes in. He has to stop worshiping the idea of 11 as the all-powerful weapon and start loving her as a person who might need to let that power go. He has to walk right up to the line that has defined their relationship since season 1 and say out loud that he would rather have a world where they live ordinary lives than a world where she keeps burning herself out to save everyone. In practical terms, that could look like this. At the climax, Vecna tries to hijack the connection. He uses Mike's fear and declarations to push 11 past her limits, hoping she will tear the barrier wide open and give him what he wants. He taunts Mike, tells him he is useless without her, tells him the only thing he can do is beg her to try harder. And Mike refuses. He stops playing cleric. He stops praying for more power. He tells 11 she does not need to win by becoming a god. She can win by choosing to cut the cord. to let the power that comes from that other place die with Vecna. His final act of love is not telling her she is the strongest. It is giving her permission to stop. That moment breaks the worship pattern the Upside Down has been feeding on. It takes all that emotional energy that has been flowing toward power and turns it toward sacrifice and acceptance instead. That is the kind of shift that can drain a god. So I do not think Mike's role in the story is just the heart of the party. I think he is the secret cleric who has been unintentionally feeding the system they are fighting. And the only way to beat Vecna is for him to finally close the book on that faith and choose a different ending. Whether you think Mike ends the story with 11 powered up or powerless, tell me in the comments what his last big choice should be. And if you are still watching, drop Cleric Mike down below so I know you are part of the party.